real world is.
No, we're gonna welcome you to this, we're gonna welcome you to this May 15th meeting of the City of Charleston Planning Commission. My name is Charlie Carrish. I'm the chairman. I'm joined by vice chairman to my left, Harry Lassane. Also joined by commission members from my left, Mr. Bart Jackson, Mr. Jimmy Bailey, Ms. Erica Harrison, Mr. Quita Brian Jenkins. And the way we'll run the meeting today is I'll read an item from the agenda into the record. We'll hear from staff as to what comments they had and recommendation. Then we'll hear from the applicant, then we'll hear from anyone who wants to be heard in favor of the application, anyone who may have concerns about the application. And we'll let the applicant address any issues. Then we'll close the public comment when the commission members discuss and vote on and talk about it. If you have a cell phone, I ask you to put it on silent and turn it off. If you come up to speak, please come up to the podium, tell us who you are and if you represent anyone. Mr. Morgan, you want to represent, introduce any staff that's going to be discussing?
Mr. Morgan, planning manager in Department of Planning, and then we've got Philip Overcash. Philip is going to be filling in as our key planner on in reference to a little bit. Omar left the city to go do some consulting work. So we will be filling his position shortly, maybe by next month, who knows? But in the meantime, Philip is helping us out and he knows the ropes. And we've got Philip Clapper, our clerk, and then Molly Connor, our annexation planner.
Great, thank you, sir. And let me start off by saying that we wish the Sunday Lepsis couldn't be here today. She had a knee replaced about a week ago. So we wish her a speedy recovery. I talked to her a couple of times and she wanted to come. She said, if you can show up with a quorum, I'll get my husband to bring me down there Sunday. You're very loyal, but I think we got it. You know, so hopefully it'll be a short meeting, so we'll see. So anyway, we wish her a speedy
Famous
recovery.
last words.
Yeah. I don't know, man. You know, I have this before. So what are you here for? What item?
Wilton Street, 1614.
Okay, you here for the first, I was just thinking, anybody here for zone first?
Well, let's go ahead and take
Zone,
that.
yes. Well, the first item on the agenda is minutes. Can I get a motion or anybody looked over those minutes?
I actually have, and with Donna not being here, I had one thing to change, under my comments, in the debate about the property on Savannah Highway. There was a sentence in there that said, that talked about Moore Drive, and it was spelled M-O-R-E as opposed to being spelled capital M-O-O-R-E as in proper name. Thanks.
Second.
Okay, great. With that, you move to approve the minutes. Great, second, Mr. Bailey, Mr. Bart, thank you. Bart Jackson, thank you. So the motion by Vice Chairman Harry Lassane, second by Bart Jackson. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great, thank you. And number one, rezonings on 1614 Wilton Street, Williams Island, TMS number 42513000022, also District 12, approximately 0.21 acres. Fresh rezoning of single family residential, so under limited business LB. Mr. Morgan.
Okay, so you all have seen this one before, I guess in the last year or so. A similar request, but just kind of go through and get background on this again. The applicants or the application is related to this property right now. It's presently a residential structure. There are built properties that front on Folly Road to the west that are zoned limited business. And then to the rear of the property is also a property that is zoned limited business. So it's wrapped on those two sides by limited business. It is on a residential street essentially with Wilton because these are residences here. And then we'll do some broader views to give you a sense of the surrounding area. This is a kind of wider view. The subject properties are here. And the eastern side of Folly Road has been always a series of these houses, basically, that were originally residentially exclusive and over time have been converted to things like offices. There's a restaurant. There are a few mixture of other uses as you get up towards Camp Road. But essentially, you've got about a mile here from Camp Road down to Fort Johnson and Grimble Extension that is a little bit less intense than the commercial that's on the other side of the street. So you see in the city, our zoning is CT, RO, CT down here. It's not until you get down by Trimble Road that you get to more intense stuff, and the zonings are comparable in the town, which is the other parts of the area here that are not zoned by the city. Across the street, of course, is much more intense, and you've got like the Walmart here directly across the street. You've got a substation. You've got a little strip center here. You've got a new well, I guess it's a, yeah, I guess it is a daycare facility that's coming in, our early childhood coming up here, and a church, and then a whole kind of strip of more intense commercial on this western side up here. So this kind of factors into, you know, why we're recommending what we're recommending on it. Is the western side was viewed as a little bit more intense. The eastern side was where the existing residents were. Here is our comprehensive plan and what it recommends. And again, it's showing it as a suburban edge in this location, which means 1 to 4 units an acre. And then the properties that actually front on Folly would be in our neighborhood edge, which would be in line with limited business or commercial transitional, things like that. So that's from our most recent comprehensive plan. You know, here is the town zoning that is on the surrounding parcels. Residential, single family residential for the here, residential single family for the north, and then office residential on the only the corner parcel, not further down Wilton Street. See that kind of break is here. Then what the SR1 to limited business would allow for, it allows for, you know, a variety of commercial uses, including things like gas stations and all like that, but they're limited in hours of operation from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. It's just kind of computer controller. Y'all seen these, you can certainly come back to this if you have other questions on this. Within the Folly Road overlay, there are some recommendations again for this eastern side, and this is what we call the South Village sub area. It extends from Prescott Street to Grimble Road Extension. And it says this area consists of a mix of medium to high intensity commercial development, such as shopping centers and big box stores and consumer services along the west side of Folly Road, and primarily small scale office and residential uses along the east side of Folly Road. Here is intended for development. The lower intensity development on the east side of Folly Road. And here's the image of the aerial of the properties, residential structure here, residential structure here, and vacancy of the property up here. And just a bit broader residential aerial view. And you can see the Walmart across the street. And here's an image of the subject property at present, residential use, and adjacent residential property to the left. And just the street adjacent. So our recommendation is for disapproval of this request. And I've talked to the applicant about this a little bit. You know, we think there might be a path forward with all these, because the applicant owns the surrounding properties that are LB. And we think there could be a path forward with something like a CT for all those properties, because that limits the size of the buildings to 3,000 to 5,000 square feet, 3,000 square foot size limit for restaurants, 5,000 square foot limit for retail or offices. And it wouldn't allow like a gas station, because I think the gas station is, you know, one of our most intense uses. And that's the nice concern with the LB as well. So, you know, I mentioned that to the applicant. He can speak to you all about his thoughts on that. But, you know, absent that, you know, our staff recommendation is for disapproval of this outright change to limited business.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. So would you like to be heard?
Yeah, who?
Yeah, come on up. Thank you.
It's been a while since I've done public speaking.
That's all right. You got a nice audience here, sir. We're an easy group.
No problem. Toby Stewart here. I'm the applicant, 1614 Wilton. I heard Mr. Morgan. If you take a left on Folly Road off the connector, every single corner going on Folly Road heading to Folly Beach is commercial, and they're all on residential streets. Including Camp Road, that's a residential street, in my opinion. And I feel like my hands are being tied. Not letting 1614 become limited business, even though the 3 surrounding lots that I own are limited business. I purchased those 3 lots in 2020 and they were already limited business. I purchased the house 1614 in 2022. And to me, it only makes sense. Let's complete the corner. I was told at a few meetings to reach out to the public. I didn't know how to do so, so social media was my friend. On Facebook, Save James Island, they have 7,000 followers. 135 comments where they were for change on that point. Restaurants, cafes, food trucks. Everyone loved the idea. The only 2 complaints was a car wash and more housing. This on Save James Island, if y'all like to look at it, Facebook page. Other than that, I'm willing to work with the community. That's why I reached out and asked. I'm born and raised James Island. It's my island too. I think it'd be a great restaurant area, a eatery, ride your golf cart, bicycles. At one time, the planning commission or whoever I spoke with encouraged more housing. I disagree with that. It took me 45 minutes to get there from James Island for this meeting. Traffic, lovely. Anyhow, that's all I have to say. Thank you for.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. I doubt anyone to be heard in opposition or favor, so be proud, so we'll close the public access.
Do you
Mr.
have a
Jackson?
question for the city? I mean, it's obviously there are 2 parcels on Folly Road, but it's twin parcel. When, do we know when that became limited business, or has that always been limited? Do we have any history on that mirroring piece?
And that landlocked piece.
Section is that.
Yeah.
He's owned at some point, in the 2000s. I'm not sure when.
And the reason I ask is again, because of the precedent. This is why I've come in here and talking to Mr. Bailey and others, it's like you gotta be careful what you do once, because you don't want to do it. You don't want to set that precedent because it can look to be unfair to the public. And so yeah, the 2 on Folly Road, I think are pretty clear cut cases and they're already there. But then that one, that's the first thing I noticed when I looked over this in the email. Well, wait a minute, why is the other one pink? And so I just thought I'd see if there was a history on how long.
And I think we have had a general policy, and Ms. Jacobs knows a lot about our history of that. Unfortunately, she's not here tonight. But a general policy that when we get to more residential streets, that properties that front directly on the residential street, that are addressed on the residential street, wouldn't go commercial. And I think from a staff standpoint, we aren't necessarily saying that. We understand that, it's surrounded on 2 sides by commercial. But our feeling is that, the LB, if all these parcels then were LB, you'd have enough space potentially for a gas station, and that would be a more intense use than would be in line with what the plans call for on this side. And if you took it all to say a CT, then you'd have the limitations on the size of the buildings. You still have a restaurant, you still could do retail, couldn't do a gas station, but that might be more keeping. And you notice our only other zonings on this side nearby, of course, are RO to the north, CT to the south on this side. And then as you look further down this image, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but all this is a CT in the city. And then you've got some RO up here and some CT as well. And so we've just over the years been trying to keep that lower intensity on the eastern side versus the western side, which never really had those houses fronting on it the way the eastern side did.
Charlie, since the only person in the audience is the applicant, can I ask him a
Yes, sir.
question?
Go ahead.
Have you considered that CT zoning that staff has suggested?
I spoke the other day, I'm open to anything, but at this time, I'd like to see where this lands. The LB zone in the corner.
I do have a question. So if we taking into consideration CT or LB, but a commercial designation, a CT zoning, but you have all the other parcels that are around that are LB. That doesn't preclude, right, the uses that would be, it would technically never actually preclude a gas station on that particular LB corner. It's just that section says CT can't have those particular uses. So when you have like an assemblage like this, right? What happens with that particular designation is that that use can't exist on that particular parcel, but everything around it could be that particular, be the use that you're trying to avoid, right?
Although gas stations today typically need a little bit more land, so that's why, because there was a gas station vendor who came forward with a similar request like this last year. And he was gonna put a gas station on all 4 of the parcels there. And that was turned down. And so, while Mr. Stewart is not talking about having a gas station as a potential use here, the fact remains that LB does allow those. And so we have to look at what are the most intensive uses that could occur. That should have had that silented.
The applicant may not be the owner forever. Next owner could say, Exxon, let's put some pumps in.
Mr. Hussein?
Chris, what is the cross hatching on the map?
that is properties that are included in the actual Folly
In
Road
the
overlay.
overlay.
And the property to the rear here, I believe, was not commercial at the time the overlay was created. And so then that became part of that parcel, I believe, later. And that's, we could certainly, with a different application, we could certainly include overlay all of these if they were all the same zoning or something like that. I don't think that would be a restriction.
Yeah, I'm, that, Mr. Jackson's comment about that landlocked parcel is really, that's the one that creates even, otherwise, to me, it's not even a close question, but with that, I might be willing to support the CT zoning there. I don't think I can support the LB.
Can I speak or no?
Yes, sir, you go ahead. Yes, sir.
So the corner is not landlocked, there's an easement
Okay,
into that back lot in a single residential one.
is the easement over the lot that we're talking about, or is it? It
It's
is,
20-foot easement next to the house.
okay.
Pull up the aerial.
It's to the left of the house.
Correct, yes, sir.
See that street.
Okay,
That was before my time.
understood.
Yes, sir. Other commission members, comments, questions? Motions? Mr. Bailey, it looks like you're about to say something, John.
No, I'm just, I have the unique perspective of living in a house that's the second one off of Folly Road on a residential street. And I'm just thinking about this from that perspective.
So first for our options, we could certainly decide to do CT on this.
You could, for this one parcel,
Right.
it wouldn't apply to the other ones. There'd have to be a new application for
Right,
the other
right.
ones. Yes, yes.
I mean, we could do that, Mr. Chairman. I hate to do that without the landowners.
No, I understand. I'm just
So,
asking what our options.
So I guess, I'll make a motion to disapprove the application.
Okay, deny the application. Mr. Hussein makes a motion to deny the application.
And I would encourage the landowner to look at the CT.
Other questions, comments, second to the motion?
And I would second it with the same consideration to consider the CT.
We'd like to help you, it sounds like, but we need you to step in a little more too, so.
Sure, I understand. It'll start somewhere.
So there's a motion by Mr. Hussein and then I second by Mr. Cleveland Byron Jenkins. Any other comments, questions?
I would just, for the applicant's sake, and again, this is unusual, just having one, but I would say that I'd probably be pretty warm to that as well.
So,
I mean, I think about Folly and your comment about each and every corner having some sort of commercial use. I think that's accurate as I do the imaginary drive down Folly. But I agree with the people that are concerned about a giant gas station and so forth.
thank you, sir. So there's a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? There's 2, 5, 6 in favor, none opposed. Thank you, sir. And we look forward to helping you in the future. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is ordinance amendment, request to amend, request to amend Article 2, Part 6, Section 54, 233, Paragraph A of chapter 54, the code of the city of Charleston zoning ordinance to allow commercial and institutional projects up to 10,000 square feet to be reviewed by either BARL or BARF. Mr. Morgan?
This is kind of a housekeeping request, but it does have to change, the codes. So it has to go through the process, to you all and on the city council. But this would let staff determine if a project needed to go to BARL or BAR small, up to 10,000 square feet. And what we're seeing a lot of after a few years of these two separate boards is that BAR small is getting overloaded with lots of applications, and sometimes BAR large has fewer numbers. And so if there's a bigger project on the BAR small, that might convert over to the BAR large, depending on staff's judgment for that. But that would help with balancing the agendas and staff work on them. And that's the reason for the change.
Would anyone like to be heard on that ordinance amendment?
Are you sure?
Real.
Well, I'll just identify myself. My name is Jay White. I'm a member of the BAR Large, and I'm just here in case there are any questions regarding this.
Thank you for coming, sir. Thank you.
And this is a logical tweak to.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for your service as well. So.
I guess I'll ask a question then, Mr. Chairman, if that's all right. The kinds of projects that are presented to either BARL, BARS, when we talked about that ordinance change now several years ago, I think the idea was that there might be different expertises on the BARL versus the BARS. And I wonder if, changing what goes before each board, if that matters with the expertise of the members. Maybe that's a question for you.
I think that's loaded into the language here to allow commercial and institutional projects. Because most of what BAR small sees is single family. And the architects that serve on that board are attuned to that scale of work. And most of what we see at BAR large is commercial and institutional. And it has been true in the past that commercial and institutional projects that are small in scope, but are part of a larger building, go that direction.
And you're on the BARLS?
L.
And how long you been on that?
Well,
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You've seen a lot of projects.
I once served with Ms. Harrison.
Oh, very good. We won't hold that against.
Hey,
No,
I think I
no.
passed my expiration.
That's not.
No.
So is it, I'll follow this up. Maybe this is a question for staff, and I'm not opposing this at all. I'm sure it makes sense. But I wonder if this will mean that the BARS becomes almost exclusively residential, but maybe it's that way anyway.
Most of the applications are, because there are lots, our historic district is so overwhelmingly, residential. There's so many historic structures to deal with. And I think that's why the agendas are getting overloaded.
Okay. Well,
Yes, sir, Ms. Bailey. Move for approval. Bailey moves for approval, second by Mr. Sane. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? That's 6 in favor, none opposed. Thank you, sir, for coming too. Thank you for your service.
Have a good evening.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Next item is zoning, number one. Last item, and yeah. 113 Tall Oak Avenue. That's dash APM, that's number 41813010, District 9.14 acres, request only SR2, it was R4 in the county. Mr. Morgan.
Recent annexations, and it's adjacent to another parcel of property that is zoned SR2, and it was R4 in the county, so what's recommending for.
Makes sense.
move for approval.
So same. Second by Ms. Harrison. All in favor, six by saying aye. Anyone opposed? That's 6 in favor, not opposed. I believe that is the last item, unless there's anyone else deliberate anything else. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your day. Anything else, folks? Ms. Morgan, anything we need to know about?
Yeah, we are still working to schedule another follow-up time with our zoning consultants via a remote meeting. We had a request that was kind of unexpected from the city council that they present their CD committee and more members of council. So that's coming. It took a long time to get that set up, but that's finally getting set up for June 6th. But you all are welcome to attend that. You can attend it virtually or in person if you want.
Ms. Jacobs will be there.
Oh, I'm sure she will. But we're gonna set a specific time for you all to have more opportunity to ask questions of them sometime, probably in June. So.
Anyone?
I have one more comment.
Go ahead.
It will be brief. I want to express my sorrow for the demise of Hey Charleston. And that it was consolidated with every other department's newsletter in one big newsletter. And where, I mean, the planning information got buried in the last one. So I will be one that says, I'm sorry to see that happen, because I think it's, I just don't think it's serving the citizens very well. So,
Yes, sir.
anyway, I know that's beyond my pay grade.
That's right.
Anything else? Anything else? If not,